This is Dale Buchanan, the host of today's podcast. If you've ever wanted to become a full-time professional dog trainer, now's your chance. You need to check out my new book, The Business of Dog Training: How to Make $100,000 a Year as a Mobile Dog Trainer. It's available right now on Kindle ebook, paperback, hardcover, and audiobook. The Business of Dog Training, now available on Amazon. See the link in the show notes. I'm Dale Buchanan, and this is Puppy Talk, the podcast that offers free advice and tips for raising a happy, healthy, and obedient puppy. For more information on this podcast, visit us online at puppytalkpodcast.com. Welcome to Puppy Talk episode number 124. I'm your host, Dale Buchanan, and today I'm going to talk about a very important topic. Does your dog trust you? Being an effective leader and building trust in your dog requires a skill set grounded in effective communication, temperament, and focus. This is exactly what I'm going to discuss in this episode of Puppy Talk. I'm going to start off with what to do and finish with what not to do. Let's get started. What to do. First, make sure your communication to your dog is crystal clear. In other words, I see a lot of new dog owners who will say a lot to their dog and it means nothing. It's like a line in that Talking Heads song from the 70s. You're talking a lot, but you're not saying anything. And this is how your dog feels sometimes. You're talking a lot to them, but it doesn't register. So make sure that your communication is crystal clear. Trim the fat. What I mean, instead of saying to your dog, Dixie, sit down. Dixie, sit down. You just say, sit. And she sits, and I reward that. So you don't have to say her name, and you don't have to say sit and down, because down is another command. Or you don't want to say lay down. Just say down. Say sit, down, stay, come. Leave it, drop it, bed. That's it. Those are the 7 basic commands. Said just like that, and we trim the fat. We're not saying a lot of other stuff there that is not needed. Tell the dog what you want and reward them for doing it. Number 2, set your dog up for success. With my dog training clients, I teach them to have fun with their dog through a high level of mental stimulation and enrichment activities, which can include leash training outside with some basic agility equipment, and setting the dog up for success and rewarding them, making sure they're happy and they're smiling and they're having fun interacting with you. They're going to see you as a very effective leader for doing so, and they're going to trust you in the process. Number 3, stay focused on teaching the dog what you want them to learn. In other words, when I go to a lot of clients' homes, they always say, I want to stop my dog from jumping, stop them from barking, stop them from chewing, stop them from running out the door, stop them from pulling on the leash, stop them from barking, stop them from doing all these things. And I explain to them, we can't focus on what we want them to stop doing. We want to focus on what we want to teach them and what we want them to do instead. So if they're pulling on the leash, instead of focusing on them pulling on the leash and you pulling back, which just creates a lot of friction and conflict, they're going to keep pulling and they're going to win because dogs are very strong. We teach them to stop and wait and heel next to us or walk next to us on a loose leash. This is an alternative behavior, and this way they can't pull. So we don't focus on the pulling, we focus on the alternative behavior and teaching them that. If your dog is barking at everything that they see on a walk, we don't focus on them barking and try to correct it while they're barking, because that's just going to reinforce the barking. They're going to bark more, and the dog doesn't trust you to show them what to do instead. What we do is we do a U-turn, get the dog to focus on us, whoever's handling the dog, whoever has the leash, whoever's doing the training, and having them watch us sit and lay down and focus on doing another task versus barking at the stimuli. This is how we work with the dog, by teaching them something instead of focusing on what they're not doing well. Because in reality, You can focus on what the dog isn't doing well all day long, and that's just going to frustrate you more. This is when dogs get rehomed. The owners are focused and has a laundry list on all the things that the dog doesn't do well. And what I do first, when somebody gives me a list like that through an intake form of my website, is I tell them, what do you want the dog to do? I know what you don't want the dog to do. What do you want the dog to do instead of these behaviors? And that changes the perspective of the training right away. Now let's talk about what not to do. Do not talk to them so much, especially with repeated commands where they check out. Dogs don't use their ears as well as they use their eyes, and they don't use either one of those as well as they use their nose. If I want to get a dog to focus on me, I have to have a motivation. I have to motivate them to do the work that I want them to do and focus on me and nothing else. So I have to have a high-value food reward and present it to their nose so they say to their brain, oh, this guy's got some chicken breast. I love chicken breast. I love cheese. I'll do whatever he wants at that time. And then I've got the dog in the palm of my hands, and I'm not saying a word to that dog. And so when you start talking to them and so much, they're going to check out because they habituate your talking. They habituate the words because it just becomes background noise. Number 2 of what not to do. Do not yell at your dog. Yelling at a dog will create fear and anxiety and stress in that dog. They will not trust you because effective leaders do not yell. They stay calm. Next, do not show frustration and lack of leadership skills. Like I just mentioned, effective leaders don't yell. They don't get frustrated. They stay calm. They delegate authority in the appropriate demeanor, with good manners, and in the right way. Anybody who's ever raised kids properly or ever managed a company or owned a business, you understand this. Next, do not use physical force with your dog. It doesn't work long term. It will never work long term, and usually it doesn't work short term. I hear stories of people who grab their dog's snout when they're not behaving well by play biting too much. They hit their dog. They slap their dog when they're not behaving. And this is absolutely inappropriate. This is borderline canine abuse, and this is bad. Never use physical force. Those old days of rolling up a newspaper and slapping your dog, those days are over. That was in the 70s. Don't do that. And finally, what you don't ever want to do is overcorrect your dog. Remember I said earlier that the focus should not be on stopping a behavior, but teaching an alternative behavior. In other words, if the dog is jumping, I'm not going to say no, down, stop, off. I'm not going to say anything when they're jumping. When they approach somebody, I'm going to teach that dog to sit politely for a pet instead of jumping. So they don't even have the chance of rehearsing the jumping. They automatically know that when they greet somebody, they're going to sit or lay down and they're going to behave. This way they won't jump on people. That's a very good way to focus on what you want the dog to do, not focus on what you want the dog to stop doing. If you're having problems with your dog and you're not sure if they trust you, what I suggest that you do is a little activity that I've created for some of my clients. And that is to get out a piece of paper and write down things that you want the dog to learn and things that you want the dog to do better. And that's your focus, that's the training, and they will respect you and trust you more for that. In my book, The Complete Puppy Training Manual, there is a chart in the back with the section on behavior modification. And the chart has the behavior that you don't want, why they're doing it, and what an alternative behavior is and what you need to practice. This is very important to focus on the alternative behavior and focus on what you want the puppy or dog to do instead of constantly focus on what they're doing wrong. Because honestly, they don't know what's right or wrong yet. They need to learn that, and this is what you're teaching them. Reward-based training is best for building trust because dogs love people who give them food. If you don't think your dog trusts you, Grab a handful of their food, let them eat out of the palm of your hand. Give them treats frequently for sitting and being polite. Give them treats frequently for being a calm, good dog. This is called capturing. You don't even have to give them a command. When they do something good, say, good boy, good girl, and give them a reward for that. Because you're giving them the reward from your hand, they are trusting you more. When I work with fearful dogs that have no trust in anybody or anything, I use very high-value food rewards, chicken, turkey, steak, salmon, cheese, hot dog, and I build trust in that dog early on so that I can actually work with them and we can actually change their association with the triggers to the fear and hopefully get them to be not so fearful and stressed out when they meet somebody new. That's the goal. I hope this information was helpful to you. If you have any questions about the information in this podcast, you can contact me through the website, puppytalkpodcast.com. Have a great day.